The story of Lazarus rising. In the quiet village of Bethany, just a short journey from Jerusalem, lived three siblings who held a special place in Jesus' heart. Martha, Mary, and their brother Lazarus had often welcomed Jesus into their home, sharing meals and conversations that nourished both body and soul. Their house was a place of peace for him, a sanctuary where he could rest among those who understood him deeply. When Lazarus fell ill, his sister sent word to Jesus with a message wrapped in both trust and urgency. "Lord, the one you love is sick," they said. The words carried their deep faith in Jesus' power and their hope in his love for their family. They knew of his ability to heal, had witnessed his compassion in action, and believed he would come. But Jesus, receiving this news while teaching in another region, did not immediately rush to Bethany. Instead, he remained where he was for 2 more days, knowing that what was about to unfold would reveal something profound about God's glory. His disciples watched him with confusion, unable to understand why he would delay going to help someone he loved so dearly. Meanwhile, in Bethany, the sisters kept vigil by their brother's bedside. The olive trees outside their window cast shifting shadows on the walls as days passed, their leaves whispering in the breeze like gentle prayers. Despite their best efforts and the help of local healers, Lazarus's condition worsened, and their hopes began to fade like evening light. When Jesus finally began the journey to Bethany, he knew that Lazarus had already died. His disciples followed him with heavy hearts, wondering what comfort they could possibly offer now that death had claimed their friend. The dusty road seemed longer than usual, each step carrying them closer to a house of mourning. By the time they approached Bethany, Lazarus had been in the tomb for 4 days. The village was quiet with grief, the air heavy with the scent of funeral spices and the sound of mourners offering traditional songs of lament. Word of Jesus' approach spread quickly through the gathering of friends and neighbors who had come to comfort the sisters. Martha, hearing that Jesus was near, went out to meet him on the road, while Mary remained in the house. The afternoon sun cast long shadows as Martha approached Jesus, her heart a mixture of grief and unwavering faith. "Lord," she said softly, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now, I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you." Jesus looked at Martha with eyes full of compassion and understanding. "Your brother will rise again," he said gently. Martha nodded, speaking words of faith that had been passed down through generations. "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day." But Jesus had something more immediate, more miraculous in mind. "I am the resurrection and the life," he told her, his voice carrying both authority and tenderness. "Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live, and everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die." "Do you believe this?" The question hung in the air like morning mist, inviting Martha to trust in something beyond her understanding. "Yes, Lord," Martha responded, her voice steady despite her tears. "I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world." Her declaration of faith echoed across the quiet landscape, a testament to the depth of her trust, even in the midst of profound loss. Martha then returned to the house to call her sister Mary, whispering that Jesus was asking for her. Mary rose quickly and went to him, followed by the mourners who thought she was going to the tomb to weep. When she reached Jesus, she fell at his feet, her tears falling like gentle rain on the dusty ground. Her words echoed her sister's. "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Seeing Mary's tears and the weeping of those who had come with her, Jesus was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. His own eyes filled with tears, showing a depth of emotion that surprised those watching. Jesus wept. The shortest verse in Scripture carried the weight of divine love experiencing human grief. "Where have you laid him?" Jesus asked, his voice still thick with emotion. The mourners led him to the tomb, a cave carved into the limestone with a large stone rolled across its entrance. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the rocky ground, and the air was heavy with the scent of myrrh and aloes used in burial. "Take away the stone," Jesus said softly, but firmly. Martha, ever practical even in her grief, gently reminded him that Lazarus had been dead for 4 days. The words hung in the air like incense, carrying with them the unspoken reality of decay. But Jesus looked at her with eyes full of compassion and reminder. "Did I not tell you that if you believed you would see the glory of God?" Several men moved forward to roll away the stone, their movements careful and deliberate. As the stone scraped against the ground, Jesus lifted his eyes toward heaven. His prayer was not a desperate plea, but a peaceful conversation with his Father, spoken aloud so those gathered might believe. "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this on account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me." Then, with a voice that carried both authority and tenderness, Jesus called into the darkness of the tomb, "Lazarus, come out." The words echoed against the stone walls, hanging in the air like morning dew. For a moment, everything was still. The mourners held their breath. The birds ceased their songs. Even the breeze seemed to pause in anticipation. Then movement came from within the dark tomb. Lazarus appeared at the entrance, still bound in his grave cloths, his face wrapped in burial linens. He stood there, alive but constrained by the trappings of death. "Unbind him," Jesus said gently, "and let him go." With trembling hands, those nearby began to remove the burial wrappings, revealing Lazarus restored to life, his face showing the wonder of one who had journeyed from death back to life. The air filled with gasps of amazement and cries of joy as reality settled over the gathering. Lazarus, who had been dead, was alive again. The sisters rushed to embrace their brother, their tears of grief transformed into tears of joy. The mourners' songs of lament became songs of celebration. As the news spread through Bethany and beyond, many who witnessed or heard of this miracle came to believe in Jesus. The story of Lazarus rising became a testament to divine power over death itself. but also to the deeply personal nature of God's love. For in this miracle, we see both the mighty power that commands death to release its grip and the tender heart that weeps with those who mourn. The home that had been filled with the silence of grief now overflowed with the sounds of celebration and thanksgiving. Lazarus, Martha, and Mary found themselves at the center of a story that would be told for generations, a living testimony to the truth that in divine love, death does not have the final word.